going into the week, we should have a weekly plan. We should know what tactics we're committing to. And that weekly plan is kind of like pulled from the larger 12-week year plan. So we kind of like pull 1 week's worth of stuff out of there. And then so we have committed to a certain number of tactics and habits and things like that going into the week. Then also going into the week, we probably should have scheduled them, like kind of scheduled out blocks in order to make sure that we have some strategic time. And then I don't know how often we're supposed to do this, but also take some time away from the desk. Do you remember what that block is called?
It's called a breakout block.
Breakout block. There we go. Okay.
Okay,
So
so
I think those are the things that are supposed to be scheduled in advance. And then we do the week, we execute, and then towards the end, we have some sort of weekly review and we score ourselves.
I want to add one quote from the book, which is, greatness is not achieved when the goal is reached, but at the moment one commits to making the goal a reality. Oh, by staying present and committed to the end of the goal and taking the appropriate actions along the way, even when it would be easier to quit, an individual is choosing to be great every day and will surely see results as a confirmation of that greatness by the end of 12 weeks.
There is something about commitment and about choosing that are glimmering and kind of resonating for me. Like, yeah, it's not passive and it's not a one-time thing. You didn't choose at the beginning and then you're having the effects of that choice for a week or for 12 weeks or something like that. It's like choosing in kind of like an active ongoing sense, almost like how mindfulness is the process of kind of like bringing your mind back to, your mind back from distractions. Choice is like kind of bringing yourself back to that decision and kind of like centering on that commitment. Something about commitment that is just really.
Say that, it makes me think of a relationship. When you show up every single day committed, it's like, okay, I'm deciding to be here again today. And then the next day, I'm deciding to be here again today. And then after a period of time, you're like, happy 10th anniversary.
Yeah. All right. So what's the opposite of commitment? Or like, I like, examining what something is and then kind of like what the opposite is. What is it not?
Flakiness.
Tell me more.
It is not being a croissant type puff pastry where pieces of you just fall off. You can't remain on the plate. You're flaking about and there's just crumbs all over the ground because you can't keep your shit together. It's kind of just reflecting on my own week personally, more closely resembled a croissant. But yes, so the opposite of showing up every single day, which is, for me, failing to do the daily check-in. I didn't show up in the morning and say, okay, I choose you. Goal, I choose you. I woke up in the morning and I didn't even look at my goal. So then by the middle of the day, I was like, oh, I was definitely supposed to do something. And then I'll do it when I get to it. And then at the end of the day, I didn't commit and designate a time block for it. So then at the end of the day, it's not done. The opposite of commitment is, days like that, where it's just undefined.
I'm thinking of commitment like it's kind of like to pledge, to basically assign resources to, and kind of, something like that. So the opposite of that would be to not assign resources, like to not definitely and definitively assign resources to the thing, and to kind of like declare that that's going to happen in that period. Maybe a commitment is only good for a certain amount of time. Like you can't commit, till the end of time. Like those commitments are kind of difficult in practice. Like you almost need to refresh them. So I can definitely commit to doing this for the next 15 minutes, right? Or the next hour, or even maybe the day, but like longer than a day. And it's almost like you need to recommit. So it is like a promise. So the opposite of that is something like not declaring, not making it clear. Leaving it, like you said, undefined or unstated, and it becomes secondary. It gets the leftovers instead of getting the main set of resources. It gets the leftovers. So if I have time, I'll get to it. Or like, if I'm in the mood, I'll get to it. So it becomes conditional. Maybe the opposite of committed is conditional.
That's good. I like that. That makes sense.
Or maybe the opposite of committed is optional. I can tell that this week there were some days when my commitment was weaker than other days. Like I caught wind of this exciting new project. A buddy of mine messaged me about something and I, really want to help out on this. But it was Thursday. It was kind of like week one or day one of the new week for me. And I had this wonderful plan. And I was like, well, I'll just make a little bit of progress in this other project that was not on my plan at all real quick. And then that ended up swallowing up all of Thursday and Friday. And it was great work. I did great work. I'm very proud of myself, but it was not on the plan. And so like my plan ended up getting left over. So I was trying to sneak it in over the weekend. I had to like go in crunch mode, kind of Monday through Wednesday, and my score is not 100% this week as a result. And so I put something else first, and I kind of like wasn't committed, or even if I thought I was, I wasn't living it. I was just saying it. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do the thing. It'll be great. But then my
Yeah.
actions, like on the first day, I wasn't doing the thing. On the second day, I wasn't doing the thing.
And then on those 2 days, did you have strategic blocks planned? Or was it just like, okay, I need to work on my plan this week, and then those 2 days happen?
I don't think that I actually had time blocks assigned to my 12-week year
So
strategic
then did you fall
tasks.
off? Or, because
Yeah, maybe I never put it on.
are we supposed to be getting this stuff done within those 3 hours? So if we put 2 3-hour blocks on our weekly calendar, is that enough to achieve the strategic tasks that we set for the week? In my mind, I think 6 hours is enough to get down everything that I put in my weekly plan. 6 hours would be enough. But when I miss one of those blocks, that's when it's, 3 hours is not enough. But it's
Yeah,
not like a full week commitment is what I'm saying. So I don't
right.
on day one of week two, I'm not thinking, okay, when I wake up in the morning, today all day is this thing. It's more like just what's in the block.
Yeah, that's a good point. Depending on what we have scheduled, they might be of different sizes. And so the tactics that I had scheduled for this week, they were very important, but also they were pretty big. One of them was doing a lot of market research on a bunch of different apps. So I had to be all over the place. And so that one was, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours just in itself. And then hiring some people and doing some other things. So there were like about 15 hours worth of stuff total. Yeah, it's tough to crunch all that into the last 3 days. And that's actual work time, not just kind of admin stuff. So
Yes,
um, I think putting the amount of time, like a time estimate, might be helpful to have a more sober planning session, where you're actually able to make enough space for the things that you're committing to doing. So if you commit to doing something, but you don't create space to actually achieve it, is it a commitment? Then it's just kind of like an intention, but you haven't kind of like cleared out the space.
right, right. Yes. Good intentions are just good intentions. I think, we had a few good words at the beginning, like what's the best one that you were saying? Promise. Promise. It's a promise.
Hmm.
It's a promise that you're making. Because that to me feels very strong. I rarely use the word I promise. I promise I'm going to do that. I swear I
Yeah,
will do it. I vow to do it. These are very strong words that to me represent commitment that I don't use often. I mean, I very
yeah,
clearly remember the last time I said, I vow to blah, blah, blah. I do at the end, like it's a lifetime commitment. I remember that. So that wasn't something I said when I started my 12-week year. And maybe if I held myself to that same standard, or somewhere in that realm where I could say the words, I promise to do this, then there would be more of that commitment.
I can say that I commit to doing something, but leave it open ended and unspecified. I commit to getting this done. Okay, great statement. Sentence over. But if I say I promise, or even like I bet or I vow, it's almost like we're signing a contract. And so it's like, okay, what are the terms?
Mhm.
Like there's some like there's a deadline. Okay, I promise to get this done. Wait, when? When is this promise due? And so it has a little bit more of a slightly different feel, like it's a little more specified. So I like the call to I promise to do this. Sure,
Yeah.
when?
And what does doing this look like? What does it look
Right,
like when it's done? So I
right.
promise to do this, and then you kind of do it or you overdo it, but all you needed to do was get to sufficient, get to 85% so that you can move on to the next task. Because that's really the point here. Not surprisingly, I had a number of strategic tasks this week that I've been avoiding in my project for, I don't know, a year. And I intentionally did not put them in week one because I thought I would dilly dally. So I put them in week two, but hey, I didn't do them. So there's some sort of, I mean, maybe not. I did have a uniquely full week. However, I'm just saying that's a little sus, Romy. Why was it, the same exact task that I've been avoiding?
We gotta call out our own intentions. Like, oh, look
Yeah.
at this. It just so happens to be the one that I was avoiding. Oh no, like it just so happens to be a busy week. Sure, sure.
Yeah.
So, retro style, like if you had to replay, but you had money on the line this time, or I don't know what motivates you, but you had, something on the line. What's one or two things that, without getting into too many specifics, but like what's one or two things that would cause you to win, or that would cause you that would make it impossible for you to miss?
Ooh, well put. I mean, yeah, impossible to miss is a different standard, but definitely getting me in the, like, towards the winning category. I realized that I didn't print out the plan. What the heck? I didn't print
Okay.
it out and put it anywhere. So at the beginning of each day, I don't have anything in my mirror right now or on my fridge or places that I go every day that remind me that I have something I'm working on. So that was a definite mistake on my part, but that wouldn't be a, like, require me to win. Let me really, that is such a good question. What would make it impossible to miss? My answer is structure. My answer is structure. Because if I followed the plan, it was already written. I knew which 10 things I needed to get done this week. However, I wasn't referring to them regularly, and I didn't put the time block in my schedule. I had a vague idea of when it was going to be, on which days, but other things came up, were time sensitive, maybe not as important, but definitely urgent. And so I had to tackle them. And then I didn't reschedule those blocks. And so then it was like, okay, I'll just get it in before, it's time. And then we had one extra day because the way our accountability check-in went this week, which shouldn't be an extra day, but I counted it as such. So then I'm like, okay, I have more time. So putting that in, that would definitely, like, following that structure, then it's unavoidable. I know if it's there on my calendar, and if I miss it, it shows up again on my calendar with something attached to it, like a reward or penalty, like I defined for myself in the past. So then if I don't hit that, I know what's on the line. I know exactly what it is. I'm going to have to waste 45 minutes cleaning out my freezer because I didn't finish these 10 tasks, that kind of penalty. So I think definitely it was a structural issue for me this week. And starting the week in a disorganized way led to me not reaching my 85%.
So I heard the absence of a printed plan, um,
Yeah.
and either it wasn't clearly on the calendar. It was kind of vaguely like on a day somewhere out there, but then it got moved, and so it wasn't formally moved because it wasn't formally there in the first place, something like that. And then attaching it to some sort of reward or penalty.
Yes.
Does that about cover it?
Totally. I believe that would make me achieve my 10 tasks last week. And the result was that it allowed me to, fall back onto these other things. So I had two very major family gatherings that I'm responsible for planning. And I allowed that to get in. But if I don't know, let's say I had to clock in and report to an office and I had a boss who was like, you're going to be fired if you don't show up for this meeting. I'm sure I would have found 3 hours to show up for the meeting, regardless of how busy it was. So I
Yep.
just allowed myself to slip out because I didn't have that structure in place. So I put those other items as a priority.
That's a good one. And it reminds me of what kind of pushed some of my more important tasks out into the future, out kind of later on into the week as well, which was some seemingly urgent thing that I convinced myself I needed to jump on. Mine was less actually urgent than yours. Yours was actually time bound and involved other people. But for mine, yeah, I kind of let myself be tempted into this other project that I didn't necessarily need to jump on. It was just kind of exciting, and so I made it urgent. So in both cases, it seems like the idea that even if we have a plan, even if we put it on the schedule and we expect to start it reasonably soon, like we haven't scheduled it for the very last day of the week, and there's no
Yes,
kind of buffer room in case anything unexpected happens. Even if we schedule it early on, but then we let
yes,
urgent stuff push it back further and further in the week, then those urgent things and anything that pushes it later in the week, like, increases risk because it's already risky. Tasks never get smaller most of the time. They always kind of get bigger. Like, oh no, an unknown, it's bigger.
Yes.
Oh, it's going to take longer or something like that, it's bigger. So there's already a risk that it's going to balloon in size. But anything that we allow to kind of like push it later in the week increases the risk that it doesn't get done. So maybe there's a question around, let's say we're doing our weekly planning, we're pulling stuff in, we're, doing everything that we're supposed to. There might be an open question around what's the riskiest thing that might pop up this week? What's the rogue agent that's going to come through and like disrupting force? What's the thing that I might expect? And it might be
Yeah.
interesting just to name that. And if we see it on the piece of paper, it kind of loses its power because at least we're like, okay, I got my eye on you.
I like it. And I think it's really realistic because during this particular 12-week year, this quarter, it's all of the holidays. And often that comes with travel or visitors and so knowing in advance that those are coming, I thought I was being really prudent by acknowledging, okay, I know I have these two family commitments this week. So I knew they existed, but I didn't take the time, like you said, to put it in that week, like on the actual plan. So I have like the little chart that I made, week 12 on this is the task and then the accountability. But right to the right of that, I should have, hey, during this week, is this person's anniversary? Is this person's birthday? Is this person's, weekend getaway that you need to find the Airbnb for? And it's like all of these things I know because of my schedule. I know I only have from 8 p.m. onward to work. Fine, and I know that. But I do know next week there are two Spurs games. So those 2 days aren't going to work. The earlier I schedule in the week, like you said, the earlier you put it in the week, then okay, now I know those 2 days are gone. So that only leaves 5 days, but I know I need to work on these other things these 2 days, and then something might come up. So the earlier I do it, the sooner it can get done. I really like that. Uh, one of the rogue agents that I allowed to get in the way was work. And I think that's a really common thing to get in the way. So in prior quarters, I was employed, with a corporate job. And so it was very easy to say, oh, I need to work late, or I have these other things to do, or, I'm working 10, I'm going to be at the office or commuting to the office for 10 or 11 hours during the day. So I only have these amounts of time, or whatever. And so it's like, well, I'm still doing important work. I'm still earning money. I still need to do these things. And so it was getting in the way of me getting my, particular goal taken care of. This week, I got a new client and it's somewhat related to this goal, but it's not the goal. So to me, I'm like, well, I did earn money from that, so it could count towards the goal, but it's like, no, is this the product that you developed and did you sell it? Because that was my goal. It wasn't these peripheral ways to make money. So then I had my 3 hour set aside after 8 p.m. And then because time zones and everything else, that's when the client was available. So then I'm on the phone with them. I'm preparing for the call, that 3 hours pass. And yeah, I feel great about getting that done, but that wasn't the stated goal that I committed to.
Got it. Yeah, I like that. And I'm loving this process because it's like identifying opportunities. Like we can only really identify them in hindsight, or it's easy. They're
Yes,
they're quite
it's the
clear in
best.
hindsight and stuff like that. And so
Yes.
like, oh yeah, first pass I missed that, but it's like, okay, this is the opportunity. And if I would have done that, I can't see any other reason why this wouldn't have worked. So that's great. That's hopeful, because a couple slight adjustments next week, and then maybe some new stuff comes up next week, and like we're in the clear. So I love that these are kind of identifying opportunities. And yeah, the clearer we can identify them, the easier it's going to be to win. But then also there's the idea that maybe if we know something's disruptive, then as we're planning our strategic tasks and our tactics and our blocks and stuff like that, maybe we also, while we're looking at our calendar with that kind of lens, maybe we also need to plan the disruptions. Like, okay, where are these disruptions going to go? If I know they're going to happen, like, I mean, where would I guess they're going to show up? Or if I know they're coming, maybe I should choose where to put them instead of just saying like, hope they don't show up, hope they don't show up. Oh, there they are.
Right.
And like it kind of comes out of the blue. So,
For a block.
okay, for the admin stuff. Well, yeah, okay.
For like the stuff that
Maybe
gets in
maybe
the
that is,
way.
yeah. The stuff that gets in the way. Yeah. So maybe a larger buffer block, and like if we do
But
have
actually putting it
two or
in.
three disruptions in there, then it's like if we really named top three disruptions, whether they're big, small, or in between, like top 3 disruptions this week. And we do that. And then, okay, like let's see if we can kind of shove those into the buffer block or at least acknowledge them on the schedule somewhere so they have a place to live.
So important. And what's funny is I'm going to my notes on this first week where I put the plan together, and it talks about strategic block, breakout block, and buffer block. And I literally have notes that are like, don't need that, don't need that. But it turns out I do need that. So
That's for other people. That's for other people.
strategic blocks, I put, okay, 3 hours seems unreasonable. And so I put, I can definitely come up with two 90-minute blocks, definite. And so I committed to that. Strategic blocks, I just need to split them up. I can do it. And then breakout blocks, I put, I don't need to leave the office. There's not, I'm not, it's not set up like that anymore. But yeah, it is. I need to go to Costco tomorrow and buy everything for the Airbnb. We're going to be trapped in a isolated town and we need groceries, and I can pretend like that's going to happen and it's going to take 2 hours, or I can be realistic about it and schedule for it and plan for it. So the actual breakout block, like get out of the office. And then buffer blocks, I put don't need to deal with menial tasks. That's my notes.
They will
So
evaporate. I will manifest them into not being. It's fine. My email
completely,
inbox. If I could do that with my inbox, it'd be great.
yes. So in hindsight, it's very clear I need all three of these things. We all probably would benefit from all three, on the schedule. It's so obvious now, but I'm just
I'm
laughing that I
thinking,
even went so far as to write, like, don't need that shit.
don't need that. Well, it's good. It's good. It's good that you put it down into record so you can point at that and be like, okay, look at what past me thought was happening.